Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Out of the Box podcast. Sam Dalling here, and I'm up in the media centre at Taunton. The Cooper Associates County Ground is looking wonderful. The sun is starting to set. I'm sat alongside Ben Warren, and he and I are just going to give a few thoughts on what was just unfolded on day one between Somerset and Lancashire. 311 for 4. Somerset finished on unbeaten centuries from James Rue and skipper Tom Abel. An unbeaten 231 run partnership for the fifth wicket. Ben, are you still pinching yourself?
Well, yeah, certainly after the early fall of those 3 wickets, Somerset are in dreamland at 311 for 4. Yeah, just a really great day's county cricket, I think. You know, the weather was good, the crowd, we had a really good crowd in here today, and some very vocal Exeter University students that were cheering on every run, which is great to see. But yeah, just one of those good days of county cricket in which Somerset are well and truly on top of them.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, I was going to say that they had a song for every player, but they didn't really. They had about 3 songs which they just put every single player's names in. But they did get a few waves. I think Jimmy Anderson, Colin de Grandhomme gave them a couple of waves. Now, what Ben was alluding to was the trouble Somerset were in early doors. Put in by Keaton Jennings, they were 24 for 3. Tom Kohler-Cadmore went on a bit of an attack, and actually Tom Abel gave him some credit for that as well. So 38 for Kohler-Cadmore, but still 80 for 4. You're in a bit of trouble. But sometimes against an attack that has Jimmy Anderson, Tom Bailey, Saqib Mahmood, Colin de Grandhomme, and George Balderson, what else can you do?
Yeah, the ball did a bit this morning, didn't it? You know, it wasn't excessive movement, but sometimes bowlers of that quality, that's actually all they need is to extract a little bit, and that's what the Lancashire bowlers did, and put Somerset under a lot of pressure. But yeah, you alluded to there, Sam. I think Tom Abel made special reference to that sort of counter attack from Tom Kohler-Cadmore having sort of set the day up, and on the scorecard only scoring 38 in 311 for 4. It might seem inconsequential, but yeah, it was a really good counter attack, and it sort of set the tone really when James Rue came to the crease. The ball was much older, the pitch had flattened out a bit, and under the sunshine at Taunton, we all know that it's a good deck, and they were faultless, weren't they? They didn't really sort of try to push the scoring too hard. They batted at a lovely tempo, and it was what we've been waiting to see from Somerset's sort of batting all throughout the season, really.
TKC, he hits the ball so hard, he almost leaves runs out there, right? And what I mean is because a lot of players kind of nudge it into a gap, and there's sometimes one to a fielder, but he drills every single ball. Even his defensive shots go like they fly to mid-on, mid-off. You've got no chance of taking one. I have to say, it was an absolute joy to watch Jimmy Anderson this morning. I think 7 overs, 2 for 12 he had first up. Like, it's what I love about county cricket. You and I were at Trent Bridge last week. We watched Stuart Broad, and perhaps the only man, the greater England bowler, Jimmy Anderson. To watch him in action is quite special for this crowd.
Yeah, and he got a lot. There was a lot of people here around the ground looking to grab his autograph, and to meet. I know a couple of the Tailenders podcast crew were downstairs. They didn't come up into the commentary box, but maybe tomorrow. But yeah, it was an absolute pleasure. So we don't get to we don't watch too much international cricket just because of the schedule here. So yeah, when you see the likes of Jimmy Anderson, I think even the most hardcore Somerset fans will have been really delighted to watch a spell like that. It's one of the joys of having county cricket on your doorstep here in Taunton. So yeah, great spell, great bowler, and James Rue attested to the fact that even later in the day the ball wasn't really doing anything. He still found it really tough out there. So a great contest.
Now, you've mentioned joy. There was a lot of joy for Somerset fans out there today. 2 men we're going to talk about. It's not often that a Tom Abel 100 will get overshadowed at Taunton, but I think today, because of the situation, because of his age, I think James Rue takes the headlines. 114 unbeaten against the attack we've just talked about. Like, his stock has risen so quickly. And what is easy to forget is that was only his 18th first-class innings, and he has, from the first game he came in, really, he looks like someone who belongs at this level. He's got the temperament, and he's also got the shots. He's more classical, isn't he? He's not your bish-bash-bosh modern player. He's just a proper cricketer.
Yeah, played really well, and I think that he's going to come under a lot more scrutiny this year. The old sort of second season syndrome kind of. Team analysts up and down the country will be trying to figure out how to get him out, and this will be a real test of him over the next few months. And if anything's to go on today, was he stood up to that brilliantly. The Lancashire bowlers bowled pretty well at him early on, and he wasn't phased. He just sort of stuck in, and it was a really mature knock. And knowing that he was the sort of last of the recognised batters, so. A terrific talent. I think everyone's clear to see that he's destined for good things, and I think that to score his first class 100 here at Taunton, obviously got one last year away from home, but this was his first at Taunton in the championship. People will remember that, and hopefully in years to come, as he progresses his career, you'll always remember that first 100 at Taunton.
Yeah, I will certainly remember it. He had that one in the Royal London Cup here as well, too, didn't he? It's just his stock is rising so fast. We must remember how young he is, but it's wonderful. And wonderful that amongst those here to watch him were his parents as well, who follow him. He said to me afterwards, they're both retired, so they follow him home and away. So he'd managed to get a quick word in with them, and he's going to go and chill out with them overnight, which I think is a good thing, because actually he's got more batting to do, and then being the wicketkeeper, he's got to go out there and straight away be in the action. Now, the man at the other end missed the first game here through injury. Tom Abel of Taunton would have been Tom Abel of England, but for that side strain that kept him out of the Bangladesh tour. And when Somerset needed him, Tom Abel delivered again, Ben.
He did, and fantastic level of maturity in the knock, having come back from injury and the heartbreak of missing out on England in such cruel circumstances was the determination that he had to get back, and it was touch and go for a few weeks. It could have been a much longer injury, but worked incredibly hard to get back. Didn't obviously make quite the first game, but looked rusty at Trent Bridge. I think that's fair to say. It was difficult. He hadn't really played much cricket, straight in, wanted to lead the team as someone like Tom Abel would, but another week and sort of a few more miles on the clock, and he looks straight back to the Tom Abel that scored all those runs last year, and again, like James at the other end, just looked in pretty much total control. Any edges were played with very soft hands that were going straight down. So it was a really good battle. It was a really good day of county championship. Lancashire bowled well in certainly for large parts of the day, I felt, on a pitch that was becoming less and less responsive. So yeah, great knock, Tom Abel. Great day of championship cricket.
It's interesting about the battle, isn't it? You mentioned that teams and analysts, the level of video footage that's available now, they will have analysed James Rew. And actually, Tom Abel, having had such a good year last year, is under a bit of scrutiny. And we see sides now, they know his V is kind of mid-wicket. So we often see teams with a couple of catchers at mid-wicket, or I think Luke Wells was almost at a silly mid-on. So they block up that avenue of scoring for Tom, and he has to look to score his runs elsewhere. And he played a lot of kind of ran the ball past the slips and into that vacant third area quite a bit today. So just showing he's got that deft touch and can change it up a little bit. I always look, Tom is a man who wears his emotion on his face. He can't hide it. He cares deeply. When he's hurting, you can see he's hurting, and when he's elated, you can see that on his face too. And it's just wonderful. I much prefer an interview where Tom Abel is bouncing over rather than trudging over to speak to the press. So the game is well set up, 311 for 4. I think it's probably actually only about par. It feels really good, and it is really good, but that's from where Somerset were. So they're going to have to still go back out there tomorrow morning and do a little bit more hard work. We can't wait. We will be back with you with the Out of the Box podcast tomorrow evening, or hopefully we'll be reporting on another fine Somerset day.